Are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay. My name is Max Frumis. I'm the global editor of LevFin Distressed here at 9fin. I'm moonlighting as the host of Syndication Nation, the LevFin 9fin podcast on all things syndicated loans and bonds. And I'm here interviewing Sasha Padbury about her recent article about data centers in space.
Yeah, and out of this world.
It is out of this world, right? I love the article entitled "Houston, We Have a Solution: How Space Data Centers Could Be Debt's Next Frontier." Came out last week on 9fin, and it is wild. I highly recommend you read it. So I guess just first of all, what is this, thing out of science fiction, and how did this story come about?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for joining us, Max. I'm so excited to discuss space data centers with you and our audience. So just to rewind a bit, space data centers is something that, you're right. To your point, it does feel like a science fiction type of concept, but essentially it's a vision by a bunch of entrepreneurs, tech titans, and startups to not outsource, but to put data centers in space. So when I first approached this topic, I had mistakenly assumed that it would just be some sort of iteration of what we have on Earth. So I thought it would be literal commercial building-sized objects orbiting our Earth. But the more research I did, these space data centers are much smaller than that. I mean, they can be satellite size, of course, but a lot of what's already out there is much smaller, and it works exactly like data centers on Earth to power a lot of the growing demand for AI. And it's super exciting. I spoke to some startups about it. As you know, last week we had NVIDIA putting one of the first or the most highly public data centers in space, and I think that was the size of a small fridge. So make of that what you will. I don't know if that can necessarily power a lot right now, but eventually, as what Bezos says, in the next 20 years, this could basically, beat the cost of terrestrial data centers.
Yeah. So you mentioned a couple players here in NVIDIA, Jeff Bezos, CEO of Amazon. Who are the main players driving this, right? And what is the timeline for it becoming more of a reality?
I think right now for space data centers, NVIDIA is probably the most high profile. They had that launch with StarCloud, and you also have Amazon thinking about it. Elon Musk and SpaceX definitely is one of the players in the space. Elon, to that point, did mention that he wants to put solar-powered AI satellites in orbit that can capture the energy equivalent of 25% of the U.S. entire electricity output. Whether or not that actually materializes is anyone's guess. Yeah. And then there are like smaller startups, for the story I spoke with Lone Star Data Holdings, and I did speak with Sophia Space. They have also put or launched prototypes in the last year or so, and they're looking to do more ambitious stuff in 2026.
And I mean, you mentioned a couple of things. So when you're launching a satellite into space to essentially be a data center, what are a couple of the advantages of doing that, and how do they get their power?
Those are great questions. And I think all of the people that I, talked to were very, very quick to tell me that the first thing you get from space data centers as a key advantage is solar power, unlimited free solar power. Whereas, on Earth, you have to find a way to power these data centers. And that's why in the LevFin market, we've seen a lot of power operators basically take advantage of the debt market to raise capital to accommodate that growing demand. So in space, you have the sun, so unlimited free solar power. And space is the ultimate cold destination at a negative 455 degrees Celsius. So again, you don't require cooling equipment like what you do for terrestrial data centers. So that's another advantage. And I think finally, it's also like occupying landmass. If I'm not wrong, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think Meta's, was it the Hyperion project? They said that their data center was going to be the size of Manhattan. And, to my previous point, the scale of the space-based data centers is obviously not quite as big.
And just the cooling aspect of it is one of the most energy intensive parts of these data centers here on Earth.
I agree.
I think like Northern Ireland and other cold destinations were a place where people put in a lot of terrestrial data centers.
I agree. Yeah, I think like even in the US, it was like the Dakotas. That's where they're putting some of those newer ones.
Yeah. So when you spoke to the startup players in this space, as Lone Star, Sophia, you interviewed them. What did they say about the trajectory of this becoming, going from what the hell are you talking about to now all the richest people on Earth are pushing for it?
That's a great question. I think, one of the things that they mentioned was more and more people or players in the space realize that we only have finite resources on Earth. So they have to look for a new frontier. And I think space was one of the most attractive. And this wasn't necessarily said by Lone Star or Sophia Space, but I did speak with people from Janus Henderson that said that, the cost of launching mass into space has declined since the 1960s, both due to, tech disruptions and just the fact that space is becoming more commercialized. So as that happins, all right,
nice
yeah, there you go.
Here.
But please check out an article so you can actually see it. So as the cost of launching mass to space declines, that actually opens up the opportunity to experiment with ideas like that and make it a reality.
So which brings us to the costs and debt capital finance.
Yes.
I think we've seen this real gold rush or wave of humongous financings for terrestrial data centers from Meta recently and other players. So first, could you just walk us how much debt is being raised for terrestrial data centers right now? And what's the mix between IG and high yield?
Oh, billions. Absolutely billions on billions. I just have to say, though, at least on the IG side, that seems to be the more common. I mean, to be fair, the borrowers are all the Magic 10 big tech firms. So they have the ability to get cheaper debt compared to some of the power operators or smaller data center players. So I think some of the high profile ones that I mentioned in the article are Meta, Oracle, you have Amazon, Alphabet, which is, Google's borrowing entity. So I would definitely point out Amazon and Meta only because they are backed, their most recent data center projects are backed by debt with maturities through, 2049 for Meta and between 2055 and 2065 for Amazon's latest multi-tranche bond raise. And the reason why I'm bringing up these debt maturities is because that overlaps and also goes beyond what Bezos originally projected, like having, proper data center build out in space in the next 20 years. Yeah.
And there's even some high yield debt being raised here for Cypher. And I don't know, what was the price on CoreWeave?
The price?
Yeah. Some yieldy issuances that I think all traded up on the break.
Yeah, I think CoreWeave was one of the issuers that had. I think they raised about $25 billion over the last 18 months. And they also have some other background noise from something else that's sort of driving the, the debt trading levels. But I did want to go back to Cypher, which you brought up earlier. They raised $1.4 billion of high yield debt via Morgan Stanley earlier this month to build a data center near Colorado City in West Texas. And to your earlier question about what was the advantage of space data centers, I think I said in the article that it's notable that they chose Texas because it's also like a place that's impacted by natural disasters in the past. And it was actually like mentioned in the risk section of their bond OM that, the business is subject to severe weather conditions and natural disaster risk. And that's something you don't get in outer space, hurricanes or earthquakes. Typhoons, yes, exactly.
Maybe there's meteor shower risk.
I did ask that question to the startups. They did mention that, one risk could be radiation, but that's like there's already existing technology in place to sort of mitigate that and repair it if it happens. Yeah.
So, so I guess on the one hand, there could be a wave of financings for these space data centers. And on the other hand, the disruption could cause or could impact the existing financings for the terrestrial data centers. We don't know when quite yet, but there are targets.
Yeah, absolutely. I would also add that at least for terrestrial data centers, the people that I spoke to were also quick to mention that, this isn't going to disrupt terrestrial data centers anytime soon. It's going to function as a complement. But to Bezos' point, as the cost of launching massive space and technological advancements progress, that's when it's going to become a risk, especially for the longer dated debt for the likes of Amazon and Meta. That's like when it would impact their risk profile, perhaps.
So we don't anticipate a wave of fallen angels because all of a sudden there's this new alternative for these data centers who are no longer cost efficient.
Well, not in the next 5 minutes, that's for sure.
No, I'll try to break news in 2026 on this. I guess the only other last question I would have for you is. What was the most surprising thing about this story that you found out through the course of your reporting?
That's a really good question. I never really thought about that, but I think when I first heard of the concept of space data centers, it really did sound like a something out of a sci-fi novel. And before as I was like prepping for these interviews, at the back of my mind, I was just like wondering, did any of these people read H.G. Wells like novels about like alien invasions and how, the moon colony was essentially destroyed the moon? So when you have these people talking about lunar landings and building out data centers on the moon at some point, that was like my first thought. But, now talking to them, they literally destroyed the moon and created the apocalypse. Yeah, they created an apocalypse, and I mean, like after talking to them,
talk about unforeseen consequences.
Certainly. Like to your point, that was like the first thing that came to mind. But once I started talking to these people, I realized that no, they actually do have like a plan in place. They do have like these very realistic goals and visions in order to make this a reality. And I think that's just really what's so fascinating. I did not ask. That's my one regret. I certainly did not ask, but it's just so cool to see something like this potentially happen in our lifetime. And I can't wait to see how this impacts, AI in general. Like the powering of AI.
Yeah. So if you, if you're listening to this or watching this and you participated in this story, please let us know if you have read the dystopian future or science fiction novels that portend the end of the world and are preparing for it. But Sasha, this is like a really, really great great story. He took it and ran with it. Has very wide implications. Very interesting, and a lot of it's very enlightening. So thanks for doing all the legwork here, and we'll definitely continue to follow it.
Yeah, but thanks for having me, Max. And you know what? One day we'll probably be hiring for an intergalactic credit reporter. Who knows, right?
Oh my God, an editor at large based on the moon.
Exactly.
Right?
Right. Yeah.
We'll come up with a 9-fin pun by then for sure.
Absolutely.
Right? 9 moons. 9. No. Okay. Well, that's it. Thanks all for tuning in to Syndication Nation. It's been a pleasure being with you here today. And for more, check out 9-fin. Was it Cloud 9-fin? Cloud 9-fin. Wherever you get your podcasts.
All right. Thanks for having me, Max.
Signing off.